Good evening, brothers and sisters in the faith. Welcome to another episode of the Logos, a Bible study program brought to you by the Assembly of Yahusha. Our topic for today concerns the Lord's teaching about making vows or making oaths. Now, before we go ahead and proceed to our study, let us first offer this prayer of thanksgiving. Everlasting Father, Yahuwah Abba, thank you so much for the blessings that you have given your people. We do our best to understand your holy will, not only the general will that you have for all of us, but even the specific ones that you have for our individual lives. Thank you for teaching us how to reach out to you in prayer and to discern what you want us to do for our life. In studies like this, where we investigate thoroughly the teachings of your beloved Son, we believe that we can fully benefit when we apply this daily in our life. And so we ask for your guidance, O King Yahusha. May you be with us throughout this study. Strengthen our faith and bless us with hope. Father, we believe that you have listened to our prayers. We ask everything in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahusha HaMashiach. Amen. Greetings to everyone. We are truly happy to have you join us once again in our study of the teachings of the Messiah, Yahusha HaMashiach. Our topic for today is about what Yahusha taught about making vows. As you know, in this segment of our studies, we are looking into the Sermon on the Mount. We began with the Beatitudes, then the teaching of Yahusha concerning salt and light, and also fulfilling the law and the prophets, which includes fully preaching about the teachings of Moses. And so today we're going to jump into Matthew 5, verse 33. Last week we talked about how Yahusha fully preached about adultery. Today we're going to talk about what Yahusha preached about making oaths or making vows. Let's go jump to Matthew 5, verse 33. This is what he teaches. You have also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you made to Yahuwah. And so our King Yahusha again references an Old Testament scripture or Old Testament command or law, and then he expands on it or fully preaches what it truly means, especially during our days of grace. And so here Yahusha refers to an Old Testament teaching, which says you must not break your vows, you must carry out the vows you make to Yahuwah. Now he was, of course, referring to the book of Numbers 31-2. Then Moses summoned the leaders of the tribes of Israel and told them, this is what Yahuwah has commanded. A man who makes a vow to Yahuwah or makes a pledge under oath must never break it. He must do exactly what he said he would do. And so here in the book of Numbers, Moses details for us some of the commandments, some of the laws that were implemented under the Old Covenant. One commandment or teaching is about making vows. Specifically, it says that Yahuwah has commanded a man who makes a vow to Yahuwah or makes a pledge under oath must never break it. In other words, if a man says he's going to do something, he should do it. He should be a man of his word. And when he makes a pledge or takes an oath or makes a vow, and especially invoking the name of Yahuwah, then he has the responsibility to fulfill it. To break it would be a grievous sin against Yahuwah Abba. Now, when we look at this command, we know it's not included in the 10 Commandments. However, when you look at what this command is built from, we understand it's actually built from 2 of the 10 Commandments. What is one? In the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 16, it says, you must not testify falsely against your neighbor. Now, this commandment, of course, has a broad application, which is true with all the commandments of Yahuwah. And so when the Bible says you must not testify falsely against your neighbor, what this includes is to teach or to tell the truth about situations, tell the truth concerning our neighbor. And so included in speaking the truth and not testifying falsely is when you say you're going to do something, you do it. Because if you say you're going to do something, but you don't do it, what is that called? It's called false. It's called testifying falsely. If you are asked whether this event happened because you were a witness, supposedly, and you say it did not happen, when in fact it did, then you are a false witness. So there are several applications of being a false witness or testifying falsely. And so it's important to Yahuwah that we speak the truth, that we do not falsify our testimony, because this is a blatant breaking of one of the 10 commandments of Yahuwah. Now, when you combine this commandment with the name of Yahuwah, it becomes even more binding. This is why sometimes people in the Old Testament, and even during our time, people make promises and oaths, and they attach or invoke the name of Yahuwah. And this is significant because in one of the commandments of God, I think you know which commandment that is. In Exodus 20, verse 7, it says, "You shall not take the name of Yahuwah your God in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain." So when you combine these two commandments, do not falsify or do not testify falsely, and do not misuse or do not use the name of Yahuwah in vain. Well, if a person invokes the name of Yahuwah to make a statement or to make a promise or to make a pledge and doesn't do it, then he breaks two commandments in one. This is why when the name of Yahuwah is invoked in the vow or statement, it is absolutely binding. And the Hebrew people understand the value of invoking the name of Yahuwah, because to invoke the name of Yahuwah means you have to be committed, even if it means you're going to lose your life. That's how valuable the name of Yahuwah was to the Hebrew people in the Old Testament. In fact, we can see illustrations of how valuable invoking the name of Yahuwah is. For example, in the book of Joshua, chapter 9, in the verses 18, "But the Israelites did not attack the towns, for the Israelite leaders had made a vow to them in the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel. The people of Israel grumbled against their leaders because of the treaty." I think you probably remember what Joshua is talking about here in 9, verse 18. If you still remember our Bible history project, we talked about the Gibeonites because Israel was advancing throughout the promised land. The next town to be conquered were the Gibeonites. They were included among the people of the Hivites. And so they were among those who should be destroyed by Israel. And so they know they stand no chance against Israel. And so they pretend that they are from a faraway place, that they're not included in the place of the Hivites. And so they deceive the people of Israel. And so because of that deception, Joshua and the leaders of Israel, the elders of Israel, because they did not consult with Yahuwah, well, they make an oath in the name of Yahuwah that they will not destroy the Gibeonites. And this upset the people of Israel because they made a foolish vow. However, because they made that vow in the name of Yahuwah, it is binding. They have to fulfill it. And this is what Joshua did, and the Gibeonites, well, they were blessed because of that. What else? What also is an example of using or invoking the name of Yahuwah, making a vow? Let's read the book of Judges 11:34-35. When Jephthah returned home to Mizpah, his daughter came out to meet him, playing on a tambourine and dancing for joy. She was his one and only child. He had no other sons or daughters. When he saw her, he tore his clothes in anguish. "Oh, my daughter," he cried out, "you have completely destroyed me. You brought disaster on me, for I have made a vow to Yahuwah, and I cannot take it back." And so here is Jephthah. He was in the middle of the battle, and he made a vow that if they were to be victorious, whatever came out first from his home to meet him would be given to Yahuwah as a sacrifice. Well, lo and behold, guess who was the first one to meet him? His beloved daughter. And so what does Jephthah say? In verses 30-31, what was his vow all about? Jephthah made a vow to Yahuwah and said, "If you will indeed deliver the people of Ammon into my hands, then it will be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the people of Ammon, shall surely be Yahuwah's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. And so what we read to you here is a very controversial passage in scriptures. In fact, many people use it to discredit the Holy Bible and even to discredit Yahuwah our God. Because what kind of God would have a daughter be sacrificed as a burnt offering, right? And so they cannot conceive of a God who is like that, because what we read here is Jephthah's vow, and because the vow in the name of Yahuwah is so binding, it's so strong that he has to fulfill it, to the point that he was willing to sacrifice even his own daughter. Does it mean that Yahuwah expected that Jephthah's daughter is to be offered as a burnt sacrifice to Yahuwah? I don't think, and I don't believe that is actually what is being said in this specific passage. Because when you look at Judges 11, 30 to 31, I just want to kind of segue, because this is a controversial topic. You might think, oh, what kind of God is Yahuwah? He's allowing Jephthah to offer as a burnt sacrifice his beloved daughter. But when you look at this passage, when you look at the bottom, Yahuwah's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. The word "and" in Hebrew can actually be referring to another word, and that word is "or." And so when you change the "and" to an "or," it changes the whole meaning. So depending on the translator, when you read that Hebrew term, you can choose either "and" or "or." And there are many scholars who believe the choice should be made for "or" instead of "and." And so when "or" is used instead of the word "and," what happens is the meaning of this vow changes, because now Jephthah has a choice. What he's saying is, either surely they will be Yahuwah's, right? In other words, they will be dedicated to Yahuwah in the event that the one to first meet him was a person, because God forbid the offering of a burnt child or a burnt person. God doesn't allow that. He's against that. He speaks against burnt human sacrifices. So we know that when Jephthah referred to whatever comes out of the doors, if it's a person, then they will be dedicated to Yahuwah. They'll be dedicated to work in the temple. Or if it's an animal that first comes out to meet him, then I will offer him up as a burnt sacrifice. And so Jephthah's vow was twofold. Whatever met him when he returned home would be dedicated to Yahuwah, if a person, or sacrificed to Yahuwah if an animal. And so in this case, because it was a person, Jephthah's daughter, she was dedicated to serve in the tabernacle, just like Samuel was dedicated to serve in the tabernacle. It was a vow of service to Yahuwah. So vows we know that are made in the name of Yahuwah was to be taken seriously. It was absolutely binding. This is why our King Yahusha references it, right? He uses that as a starting point in his new topic about making oaths or making vows. He says you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to Yahuwah. So Yahusha doesn't negate that. However, after verse 33, he goes on to add or to teach in a way that kind of expands our understanding of vows in general. Okay, I want to make sure that you get that. Making vows in general, because there are vows that are specific and there are vows which are general. Now take a look at what our King Yahusha says after verse 33, 34 to 37. But I say, do not make any vows. Heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just say simple, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. Now, after reading this passage, raise your hand if you're a bit confused. A little bit, right? Because what is our King Yahusha trying to teach us here is actually pretty valuable and very relevant for us today. Once we fully grasp the meaning of the teaching of our King Yahusha here, it's going to radically change our life and our relationships. You see, our King Yahusha is speaking and addressing and restoring a wrongdoing that was practiced by the people during the time of Yahusha, among the Pharisees, among the Jewish leaders. You know what was common during that day? Because for us to fully understand the teaching of our King Yahusha, we have to understand the context, right? And to understand the context, we need to understand the culture, the historical background from which Yahusha is speaking. Because Yahusha's immediate audience were the first century Jewish people. And so what was happening in the first century among the Hebrew people? Well, according to extra-biblical literature, it tells us many rabbis, many Jewish scribes and Jewish leaders, well, did not consider it a sin to break a vow if it was not made explicitly in the name of God. And so they figured out a way to kind of squirm their way out of a vow that they made. And they're quick to make vows because their intent is not to fulfill it, but to break it. And so to give them an escape after making a vow, what do? They don't invoke the name of God. And so what do they invoke instead? They invoke something else. Instead of the name of God, they will invoke Jerusalem. They will invoke the earth or the heavens. And so because of this, it's not a binding vow that they make. In fact, according to the Jewish Mishnah, which is a book of traditions, when the rabbis look at the Old Testament scripture and they create a commentary and also applications for the passages in the Old Testament, they put that together in a collection called the Mishnah, which devotes one whole section called Shebuot, or oaths, to one elaborate discussion of when oaths are binding and when they are not. The swearing of oaths had degenerated into a system of rules as to when you could lie and when you could not. And so because they made up man-made rules about oaths, well, what oath is binding, what oath is not binding, well, it created loopholes. This is why when people make oaths, when people make vows, it's not certain anymore. Not like during the Old Testament times. During the first century, right, it kind of changed. It degenerated into a system where you could lie and get away with it. The use of oaths was like children saying, I have my fingers crossed, so I don't have to tell the truth. And so that's the situation in first century Judaism. So this is the abuse that Yahusha wanted to change. He wanted to transform. He wanted to make sure that the people of Israel understood that the giving of oaths and the making of vows, it's a serious thing. It's an important thing. It was the practice of swearing oaths in common conversations, and especially making oaths by creating things that were being addressed. A flippant attitude about oaths and vows caused the Jews to be mistaken in their views of the sacredness of oaths. And so when it becomes a common practice to make an oath, to make a vow, and always breaking it, right, then the sanctity, the sacredness of making an oath and a vow, it loses its meaning. It's no longer sacred. But oaths were connected with God, and to trifle with them was considered trifling with God. So this is what Yahusha was trying to teach. Having this context, having this understanding in the back of our minds, now we can understand the teaching of our King Yahusha here. He says, but I say, do not make any vows. Do not say, right, by heaven. You notice the oaths that the Pharisees were making. By heaven, by the earth, by Jerusalem, by my head. In other words, they will make an oath, okay, I swear by heaven, right, that I will give this to you at the end of 30 days. By the earth, I swear by the earth, that by the end of 30 days, you're going to own my house. by the end of 2 months, you're going to marry my daughter. I swear by Jerusalem. I swear by my head. And so they use statements and of vow statements, but they're not invoking whose name. You notice who is not involved in the oath that they make? They're not invoking the name of Yahuwah. And so Yahusha is saying, do not say oaths like these. Do not make vows based upon these, because the name of Yahuwah was not invoked in their vows. To them, it was not binding. This was a serious problem among the Pharisees. Pharisees were notorious for their oaths, which were made on the least provocation, yet they made allowances for mental reservations within their oaths. So they say to themselves, well, I made this oath, it's only by Jerusalem. I made this vow only by heaven, not by God, not by the name of Yahuwah, so it's not binding. So I don't have to really keep my vow. So this is what was happening during that time. And so Yahusha is saying that doesn't work. Yahusha says your argumentation is based on falsehood. And this is what he says in Matthew 5:34 to expose that falsehood. Because the understanding of the Pharisees is, well, you can make a vow by heaven, by earth, by Jerusalem, by my head, and have it not binding. But Yahusha is telling us it's still binding. You know why? Because when you say by heaven, by earth, by Jerusalem, all of these things are owned by who? Yahuwah. You see, making vows by heaven, by the earth, by Jerusalem, and by one's head should still be binding, because when you say by heaven, well, heaven is God's throne. Heaven belongs to Yahuwah. And so when you swear by heaven, you include God in your oath. When you say by the earth, well, the earth is his footstool. So the earth belongs to Yahuwah. When you say by Jerusalem, wait a minute. Jerusalem is the city of the great king. And so that city belongs to Yahusha and Yahuwah. When you say by my head, well, you don't have control whether or not about the color of your hair, but Yahuwah does. So even your head belongs to Yahuwah. And so what Yahusha is teaching is, even if you don't invoke the name of Yahuwah, the oath that you make is still binding, because everything is owned by who? And so that's what our King Yahusha is teaching. First, he exposes the hypocrisy. He exposes the lack of integrity of the Jewish leaders. And then he says, right, if you notice, this is really the point of the statement that we need to absorb and apply in our life. He says, but I say, do not make any vows. Why? Just say a simple, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Make sense? Because why do we have to make a vow if we intend to keep our promise? If we are speaking the truth? Yes, I saw Charlie cheat this person. Yes, I saw the accident and it was this person's fault, right? Why do you have to make a vow? You should be trustworthy enough so that when you say something, people will know, oh, this person is trustworthy. I believe what he says. Do we have that kind of reputation? That's what our King Yahusha is telling us. Just say a simple, yes, I will, or no, I won't. But the problem is society during that time, and even, in fact, especially during our time, there's so much dishonesty. Oftentimes we do need to make an oath because a lot of people are so dishonest. And even when they make an oath, they still are dishonest because they're no longer afraid of God, which makes it really problematic. But during that time, Yahusha says, well, just say, yes, I will, or say, no, I won't, because anything beyond this is from the evil one. So what Yahusha's teaching is that the evil one is at work during first century Judaism, because during that time, and in fact, even during our time, vows or oaths were used because it emphasizes, it shows the wickedness of man's heart. They cannot be trusted with their words. They say one thing, they mean another. They say they say they're saying the truth, but it's only a half truth. They like to spin things. In media today, what do we have? We have facts. You spin the facts, and you propagate an idea that's only a half truth. This is why you have Fox News, you have CNN, you have NBC. They cover the same event, but they have different interpretations. One spins it this way, one spins it that way. And so it's very hard to find truth nowadays. It's absent in the world. It was absent during the days of the first century. It's also absent today. And so what Yahusha wants is, and what he's teaching is that our life as followers of Yahusha should be sufficient to back up our words. In other words, known, or we should have a reputation of one who has a word of honor, right? What you say is binding. In other words, you can be trusted. When you say yes, it means yes. Because sometimes, I think all of us are guilty of this every once in a while, right? Somebody invites us to a party, and then we say, yes, okay, I'll try my best. But in reality, you're not really trying your best, right? And so a lot of times our yes means, oh, he's not going to come. And sometimes our no means, oh, that means a yes. And so we're not trustworthy. We're not living by our word. And there are those who are blatant liars. And there are those who like to make white lies. How is this cooking? Oh, it's the best meal I've ever had. That's a white lie. Every once in a while we commit a white lie, but all lies are still lies, right? If the cooking is really not up to par, maybe you can kind of say it in a nice way, right? But that's completely different when you make a lie about a person and accusing a person, oh, he stole this from me, right? That's a different kind of lie. And so what the point is, we ought to have a reputation as a truth teller. Did you get that? If we are disciples of Yahusha, when we say something, it should be binding. They know we can trust this person when he says it. If he says he's going to come, he's going to come. When he says this happened, this is what happened. I trust him because he has a reputation for telling the truth. This is why Yahusha says, just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't, so that we can properly represent our King Yahusha. Now, this brings up a question because sometimes people use this passage and the conclusion and application that they make is, well, it's wrong to make a vow, right? Which brings us to a question, and a good question at that. And that question is, does it mean it's wrong? Is it wrong to make a vow? During your wedding day, did you make a vow? Was that wrong to make a wedding vow? I don't think so, because there are situations where a vow is appropriate, right? For example, the Bible tells us that God is not against vows. What's the proof? Well, Yahuwah himself made a vow, right? For example, in the book of Hebrews, when God made his promise to Abraham, he made a vow to do what he had promised. Since there was no one greater than himself, he used his own name when he made his vow. He said, I promise you that I will bless you and give you many descendants. Of course, he didn't need to do that. If Abraham really believed in the character of Yahuwah, well, Yahuwah did not have to make a vow. But why did Yahuwah make a vow? Because he wanted to reassure Abraham, right? For the sake of his servant Abraham. He wants to help him out, comfort him, give him hope that by his name, Yahuwah, he's going to fulfill his vow. So in this situation, it was appropriate for Yahuwah to make a vow. Yahusha spoke under oath in the court. In the book of Matthew 26, 63, 64, but Yahusha remained silent. The high priest said to him, I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Yes, it is as you say, Yahusha replied. But I say to all of you, in the future, you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. So Yahusha's in court and he's speaking under oath and he spoke the truth. Now, is it because Yahusha is under oath that he spoke the truth? No, he speaks the truth regardless. Why? Because that's his nature. Yahusha is truthful by nature. He cannot make a lie, just like Yahuwah cannot make a lie. But it doesn't mean that you cannot make an oath. You see the difference? Okay. Apostle Paul made oaths. 2 Corinthians 1:23. Moreover, I told God as witness against my soul that to spare you, I came no more to Corinth. Here, Apostle Paul is calling God as a witness. And so, in a way, he is making an oath. Not only that, even a mighty angel in Revelation chapter 10 swore an oath. Revelation 10:5-6. Then the angel I saw standing on the sea and on the land raised his right hand toward heaven. He swore an oath in the name of the one who lives forever and ever, who created the heavens and everything in them, the earth and everything in it, and the sea and everything in it. He said, there will be no more delay. And so here we have an angel. If you read Revelation 10:1, he's a mighty angel. So he was a high-ranking angel. And this high-ranking representative of God, what did he do? He swore an oath in the name of the one who lives forever and ever, who created the heavens and everything in them. Who's that? Yahuwah. And so here we have a mighty angel who swore or made a vow or swore an oath in the name of Yahuwah. So Yahusha does not prohibit the taking of vows, because vows are permitted under certain circumstances. Vows that express devotion, right? Because on the wedding day, when you make a vow, it expresses your devotion. You are moved by your heart to say those things. Sometimes we make a commitment to the Father or to Yahusha. And so we're so filled with devotion, we cannot help but express our heart. Our heart tells us, make your commitment, right? Sometimes we feel so, we are so in love with someone, like a wife or a husband, like Yahuwah, Yahusha. We're so in love, we want to say it. I mean, we don't need to say it because we're reliable, we're truthful, but we want to say it because we want to express devotion. So that's a different case, because you are doing it out of your heart. And so what we need to understand in the teaching of our King Yahusha is when we speak about something or about someone, we must not falsely testify. Instead, we should develop a reputation of truth. You see, what Yahusha teaches in Matthew 5:33-37 is essentially that we, his disciples, should develop a reputation of truth. Right? How do you build a reputation? If it's something that you do again and again and again. If you only do it some of the times, is that going to build a reputation for you? No. I mean, none of us are perfect. Maybe we say one white lie for every 100 true statements. That's a pretty good percentage, right? And so that's pretty reliable. And so we need to develop a reputation of being a truth teller. And so what Yahusha teaches, so that we can develop a truth reputation, is number one, we develop a reputation as a truth teller. We tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And we have to discern between the whole truth and a truth which is deceiving, because it's not the whole truth. Because a person can speak the whole truth. I mean, he can speak the truth, but he is purposely hiding a part of the truth that is relevant and in question during the conversation, okay? And so we have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Also, we need to develop a reputation as a trustworthy doer, because if we say we're going to do something, we should do it. If we say, okay, I'm going to finish the project by Monday, Monday comes, what should we do? If it is, right? And so we have to develop this reputation. If we say we do something, we do it. If we say we can't do it, we say I can't, I'm too busy. Give it to someone else. Now imagine if we were to apply this in our home. We tell the truth and we develop a reputation as a trustworthy doer. When we say we're going to go on a trip this weekend for Lake Tahoe, right? If we're going to say, okay, we're going to go to Olive Garden on this date, you promise your kids you're going to do this and do that. And then you make excuses when that day happens. What do you think can happen to your reputation? Not too good, right? And so that's what our King Yahusha is talking about. During the days of the first century, today, I mean, especially today, not many people's words are as good as gold. A lot of the promises made are empty. And so when we say yes, we should do it. If we say no, I mean, if we really can't do it, say no. And so these two aspects of living in truth, we should apply in our life. Develop a reputation as a truth teller, develop a reputation as a trustworthy doer. Do you know why we need to develop this reputation? Because whether we like it or not, we are invoking the name of Yahuwah. You know why? Why are we invoking the name of Yahuwah? Even though we don't mention the actual name. Why? Why do we actually invoke the name of Yahuwah when we say something and when we promise something? Which is why we should always tell the truth and do what we say we're going to do. You know why? Because we were baptized. We were baptized. Unless you weren't baptized. But all of us, or most of us, were baptized. We were baptized in whose name? Yeah. We were baptized in the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha, and in the power of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, everything we do is to be done in the name of Yahuwah. Do you see why we are compelled to speak the truth at all times? Do you see why we are compelled when we make a promise, it should be binding? Because we represent and we bear and carry the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha. Apostle Paul says, but God's firm foundation stands, bearing this seal. Yahuwah knows those who are his, and let everyone who names the name of Yahuwah depart from iniquity. We name the name of Yahuwah. We use his name when we praise, when we preach, when we sing hymns, when we offer supplications. We invoke the name of Yahuwah. If we invoke the name of Yahuwah and we are baptized in the name of Yahuwah, then we should always abstain from iniquity, which includes following the truth. And Yahusha, why must we live our life in truth? Well, Yahusha says, Yahusha told him, I am the way. What next? What's next? The truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Yahusha does not lie. He cannot lie, just like Yahuwah cannot lie. Yahusha is a truth teller. You know this not about Yahusha? I mean, examine his life, study the Gospels, read the Gospels. Even sometimes when the truth hurts, Yahusha speaks the truth. Right? That's why he doesn't give white lies. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And so if we want to follow Yahusha as our example, our teacher, our master, and we are his disciples, Peter says, for to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth. And so when Yahusha spoke the truth, it was not the truth with deceit. It was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's Yahusha. We follow his good example because we are his disciples. And just like we bear the name of Yahuwah, we also bear the name of Yahusha. And so keep in mind, the life we live on earth, our life, everything we say, right? And everything we promise, we invoke the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha because we're baptizing their names. And so we represent their names. And so we should live by the truth and speak according to truth. However, when we speak according to truth, what should we couple that with? Let's read the book of Ephesians, the final passage of our studies today. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. Yes, we are compelled to speak the truth. We have to develop a reputation as a truth teller, and as a truth teller, we speak nothing but the truth. However, we should couple the truth telling with love, right? Because when you speak the truth without love, it sounds very judgmental and condemning. And instead of leading to a strong relationship, it kills relationship. Yahusha, Yahuwah, they spoke the truth, but they were filled with love. We too must be filled with love. Yahuwah's the truth, he is also love. Yahusha's the truth, he is also love. We too must apply both in our relationship with one another, so that we can be instruments for each other's growth and maturity, so that we can become more and more like Yahusha the Christ. That is our lesson. Let us stand and we shall pray. Most holy and gracious Father Yahuwah, thank you so much for blessing our life, giving us a teaching that we can practice daily for the betterment of our relationships with our loved ones, especially our relationship with you and with you. Teach us to always practice the truth. May we speak the truth at all times, and may you teach us that we will fulfill what we have promised to do, what we have said to do. Empower us that we may be able to make the right choices in our life. We represent you, O loving Abba. We are truly not worthy, but we will do our best from our hearts to please you at all times. Help us, please, with the power of your Spirit. Yahusha, our King and Messiah, you are the living Christ. May you dwell in our hearts. May you examine our thoughts. May you cleanse impurities you find. And may you please remove falsities, falsehoods into the truth and follow your good example. Father, please bless your people throughout the world. Help us to love each other. Help us to nurture each other to growth, that all of us can grow to become more and more like your beloved Son. Father, we believe that you have listened to our prayers. We ask everything in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahusha HaMashiach. Amen. Okay, brethren, thank you so much for attending our Bible study for today. We just have one important reminder. That is, beginning this coming Tuesday, July 30, instead of having our B2A, we're going to begin our core beliefs Bible study, so that we will examine our beliefs in the Assembly of Yahusha. And so we begin with lesson number 1, July 30, 2024. And we do request that everyone who belongs to the Assembly of Yahusha will complete all lessons of the core beliefs. That way, when people ask you about what you believe, you know what to answer, right? I mean, it would not look good if people ask us, well, what do you believe in the Assembly of Yahusha? Well, I don't know. Let me ask the pastor. Let me ask the minister. No, we should know what we believe, and we should have a ready answer for when people ask us, well, why do you believe what you believe? So it's good that we will master the core beliefs. Now, when we present the core beliefs, of course, you are very, very welcome. In fact, you are instructed to judge what I teach, right? Because I could make a mistake. And so if you spot a mistake, if there's an error in discernment in the scriptures that we present to you, please alert me, let me know, so that we can talk about it, so that we can discuss it, so that we can make amendments if need be. And so it is by the power of the Holy Spirit that we will come to these beliefs, and to the best of our ability, to the best of our hearts, we will try and uphold the beliefs that the early followers of Yahusha also upheld, so that we can have the same faith that the early Christians had. So we do hope that you will join us for the core beliefs Bible study. Again, it begins next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is all. And may Yahuwah Abba and Yahusha HaMashiach bless all of us.